Annie Constable said Sky's free agency needs to start and end in the backcourt. She rattled off names like Courtney Vandersloot, Kelsey Plum, Jewell Lloyd are some guards that answer the Sky's needs, but do they have a shot at either? But before we get off into today's podcast, tell a friend to tell. Hey guys, man, we got a great show lined up for you guys today. As y'all know, on this channel, man, we've been covering the Chicago Skies, and we've been talking about the free agency and what the Chicago Sky need in free agency. Last night we did a live show, and shout out to my man Showtime from Showtime on Point. He came up on the panel last night, and we had a great conversation with Showtime and the rest of the people that was on the panel. And I've been on record, and we've talked about Chennedy Carter lengthily. A lot of people, want Chennedy Carter back on the Chicago Sky. I'm one of those. I want Chennedy Carter back on the Chicago Sky. But recent news and what we've been seeing and what we've been hearing, it doesn't seem that the Chicago Skies really has Chennedy Carter in their plans for this year. We know she's a restricted free agent. We know that any team can offer her a deal, and it's up to Chicago Skies and Jeff P. to match that deal. But we looking at it like this. If Chennedy Carter is not in those plans, you got to have a backup plan. Now, Chicago got the number 3 pick and the number 10 pick, and we've talked about it and we covered it lengthily. And we talked about who we want at that number 3 pick. We like Olivia Miles. But there's a lot of naysayers out there saying Olivia Miles might not be there at number 3. The LA Sparks might take Olivia Miles. That's how great Olivia Miles is playing this year in the NCAA women's basketball. First game out the gate, Olivia Miles posted a triple-double. They're number 3 in the nation, and she's on a winning team, and she has showed up and showed out. And then we got our girl out there, Sonia Citron. If Olivia Miles is not available at 3, we need to get Sonia Citron, right? A lot of people talking about Cheyenne Sellers. I watched Cheyenne Sellers play the other night when USC took on Maryland, and Cheyenne Sellers, she held her own. Everybody got their own take on Cheyenne Sellers. I got my own take on Cheyenne Sellers. But we have healthy conversations about these ladies coming out of college basketball that are going to enter into the draft. But our focus is with the Chicago Skies on this number 3 pick and that number 10 pick. Now, Annie Constable. A lot of people don't like Annie Constable. They say she's the ops. They say she's just smearing the image of the Chicago Sky. But Annie Constable sat down on CHSN in Chicago, and she was talking about the upcoming free agency. So let's take a listen to what Annie Constable had to say, and then we'll come back and we'll continue the show. Let's take a listen.
Expect this guy team to be when it comes to free agency?
I mean, Jeff's shooting big. He was last year. He wanted Nneka and Skylar last year.
That obviously didn't happen. Come on now.
We've got to think about this because Stewie, Nneka, and Brittany are all essentially spoken for. Breanna Stewart is expected to re-sign with the New York Liberty in many people's minds. She's going to be cored by the Liberty. Nneka Ogwumike can't be cored by Seattle, but she's spoken really highly of the Storm in a way that kind of insinuates that she could be back with the Storm. And then Brittany Griner also has made it very clear that Phoenix is home for her. So on this list, Kelsey Plum and Natasha Howard are the 2 really interesting ones for me. Kelsey has a huge connection, or not huge, but a significant connection with Tyler Marsh, which could keep that door open for the Sky. But we know that Kelsey's coming from a space and a place that has all the bells and whistles, and the Sky do not.
So given how bad last year was, given the fact that they're staring at a potential work stoppage in 2026, and the 1-year contracts will be a thing in free agency, how big can the Sky think, and how aggressive will they be in going out? If it's not one of those 5, who else is out there?
Yeah, I think they have to think big, right? Because when you consider these 1-year deals what's at stake here is being in a position to win next year, being in a position to attract the top stars when all of them are free agents next year. And the Sky, again, are a franchise that does not have the reputation that Phoenix does, that the Aces do, that the Seattle Storm as a franchise in terms of their investment does, the New York Liberty. So I think of it this way. Look at what the Phoenix Mercury did last year. Yes, they made it to the playoffs. They were swept. But despite them having a less than satisfactory season in terms of on the court, players still want to go there because of the investment, because of the reputation. The Sky don't have that right now. And they have this facility coming in 2026. So anyways, long story short, they have to get players in here that are going to help them win next year this year, so that next year they're in the position to take an even more significant step forward when it comes to free agency.
Now, you heard what Andy Constable had to say. Now, we've been on record here on this channel, and we talked about it. You know, Angel Reese is out there advocating for certain players to come to Chicago. But what is the issue? You know, she advocated in the Unrivaled Media Day when she sat down and she was sitting next to Kahleah Copper. She wants Kahleah Copper to come back home. Kahleah Copper is a champion with the Chicago Sky, but the reason why Kahleah Copper left is because of the situation in Chicago. Their facilities, the facilities in Chicago is not attractive. But yeah, they're building this, you know, state-of-the-art facility, but it's not going to be ready until 2026. So the free agents that, you know, Angel Reese are advocating for to come, a lot of people don't want to come because it's not a main attraction. And we talk about this all the time on my platform, that Chicago Sky's facility is not a main attraction, and these free agents don't want to come to Chicago. And Andy Constable just alluded to the things that we allude to on this channel when we're talking about the Chicago Sky's facility and the attraction. It's going to be hard to attract these free agents to come in. Also, Andy Constable said, you know, without saying it, that, you know, Satou Sabally is not going to be an option for the Chicago Sky. You're not going to package up the number 3 pick and go get Satou Sabally, you know, because it's going to be a 1-year rental. Or you're going to mortgage the future for a 1-year rental, just like she said. In 2026, all these girls are going to be free agents. So you got to bring pieces in that are going to help win now for this year. And just like Tyler Marsh said in his introductory press conference, he did state that he wanted to go big. So Andy Constable saying that, you know, if Chennedy Carter is not in the cards, go out there and get Jewell Lloyd. Go get Jewell Lloyd. I've been advocating for Jewell Lloyd here on this channel as a backup plan if Chennedy Carter is not in the plans. And it seems like Chicago is ready to part ways with Chennedy Carter. It's too many stipulations on Chennedy Carter. We don't know what the issue is. We don't know what the situation is with the organization and Chennedy Carter. But the way it makes it seem is Chennedy Carter is 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Hopefully they can bring her back and also, you know, get the pick that they want at number 3. But if Olivia Miles is not there, I'm going against Andy Constable. I'm not packaging up no 3rd pick to go out and get none of these free agents. There's people that's coming into this draft that can help Chicago. If you don't get Olivia Miles at 3, get you a Sonia Citron. I'll package up that number 10 pick and go after somebody like a Jewell Lloyd or Kahleah Copper or somebody like that. But I'm not packaging up that number 3 pick because you got a viable option at that number 3 pick. You got options. If you don't get Olivia Miles, you get Sonia Citron. She's a big guard, 6'1". She's a 3-and-D person, and she can get in there, plug and play, and she can defend any of the opposing team's best players. Also, you know, Andy Constable, you know, said some other things, man, in free agency. And let's take a look at some of the articles that she put out. Let's take a look at this. She also said ranking the top WNBA free agents in 2025. The free agent class led by Kelsey Plum has a lot of talent, but the new CBA that will affect next season means 1-year deals in 2025. And we've always touched on it. 1-year deals, 1-year rentals. So you don't mortgage your franchise for a person like a Satou Sabally, because I don't think she's going to be committed long-term with the Chicago Sky. Also, the case for Dylan, the Sky's number 3 pick, starts with Satou Sabally and ends with Jewell Lloyd. Sibley and Lloyd are the only players worth packaging the number 3 pick. The question is, does Sky actually have a chance at either? Now, see, Annie Constable, I'm not packaging up that number 3 pick to get somebody like a Satu Sibley. Jewell Lloyd, that is iffy. I wouldn't package up the pick. Only if you know something we don't know about the Chennedy Carter situation. That's why you saying package up the number 3 pick and go get somebody like a Jewell Lloyd. So basically, Annie Constable is saying this without saying it. I don't think that Chennedy Carter is in the cards for the Chicago Sky. And like I said, shout out to Showtime on Point. He came up last night and we talked about it. We talk about the real. We don't sugarcoat it. We let it be known. This is where we at with the Chicago Sky and Chennedy Carter in this free agency. So we got to keep our eye on this, and we've been keeping a close knit on this. Is Chennedy Carter in the plans of the Chicago Sky? We don't know. But the thing about it is, Annie Constable is talking about packaging up that number 3 pick. I'm not going as far as packaging up that number 3 pick to get somebody like a Satu Sibley or Courtney Vandersloot or Kelsey Plum. I'm not doing that, because you get somebody in there that can help your franchise out in long term, such as Olivia Miles or Sonia Citron. That's where you go. That's what you need to do. So you guys let me know what y'all think about today's podcast. I see everybody in the comments section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball Dropping drops another hot banger, and we're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.